Welcome to Commander Quickies, the series where we take a specific aspect of Commander and crunch it into a 5-minute, easy-to-watch video. I'm BZ of the Nitpicking Nerds, and today I'm going to present to you a 5-minute guide on Stax decks. Before we dive into the guide, we need to first define what Stax means. Stax is a style of play that uses resource denial and taxing effects as a way to gain advantage over opponents while building up to a win condition. What makes a Stax commander good? In some cases, they have a piece of taxation or resource denial stapled onto the body of the creature. This can include increasing the cost of your opponent's spells, or prohibiting some spells altogether. In other cases, the creature can help unbalance the negative effects your cards give to the whole table. For example, if a spell prevents permanents from untapping, then a commander that can untap your permanents breaks parity and gives you a huge advantage. Let's look at a few of the most prominent Stax commanders and figure out what makes them so good. Derevi Imperial Tactician. These decks tend to focus on abusing Derevi's powerful enters the battlefield and combat triggers to untap your own things while using other tax pieces to keep opponents locked out of casting spells. If their permanents, primarily lands, can't untap, you don't have to worry about them introducing new threats. You'll find cards like Winter Orb and Stasis that lock down lands commonly paired with this general, since Derevi, along with other cheap creatures like Mana Dorks, breaks the symmetry of these oppressive cards by hitting your opponents and untapping your lands that way. Derevi itself is extremely tough to kill, as you aren't restricted by commander tax, so use that to your advantage. Additionally, you can abuse the older wording of cards like Howling Mine and Static Orb to ensure that only you get to see the upside of these cards. Gaddock Teeg. This is the champion of the Hate Bears, which are cheap creatures, usually 2-mana 2/2s, that have some sort of restrictive effect on your opponents or certain card types. Gaddock himself keeps most board wipes from being cast, protecting your other creatures from Wrath of God effects. Cards like Eidolon of Rhetoric and Leonin Arbiter can slow down your opponent's progression enough for you to assemble your win condition, which might involve an infinite mana creature combo, such as the Devoted Druid plus Vizier of Remedies pairing. Green and white have a lot of options for tutoring creatures specifically, so you can easily find the Hate Bear you're looking for. Gaddock Teeg's power comes from his deck's ability to find answers to almost any board state. Queen Marchesa. This commander is pretty open in terms of what type of Stax deck you can build, and not all of her decks, or any commander I've mentioned, are exclusively Stax based. Queen Marchesa can use a variety of artifact and enchantment based hate, along with creature taxes and land destruction to obtain a chokehold on the game. She often can finish with 2 or 3 card infinite combos, like Worldgorger Dragon and Animate Dead, or Bolas' Citadel plus Aetherflux Reservoir with Sensei's Divining Top. Part of this commander that draws people to playing a Stax build is the Monarchy, which will stay with you exclusively if you can stop other creatures from swinging. This advantage of an extra card every turn can swing games in your favor and help you assemble your win conditions. What cards do you typically pair with Stax commanders? Well, as it happens, I've gathered a few examples of both budget and non-budget cards of interest for Stax decks. Aura of Silence. White is a color that is very good at taxing opponents, so you'll see it present in a lot of Stax decks. Aura of Silence is an extremely annoying piece of technology that slows your opponents down immensely by increasing the cost of every artifact or enchantment they play. This makes mana rocks like the Signets really inefficient and stymies anyone relying on them. The best part is that if someone wants to kill it, they'll lose their best artifact or enchantment in response, netting you a 2-for-1. Blind Obedience. This $2 enchantment will slow down creature decks and artifacts at the same time, stopping haste shenanigans and artifact combos before they can even start, typically giving you an extra turn to react to them. On top of that, you even get to spend any extra mana you have lying around to buffer your life total. Stony Silence and Collector Oof. If there's one thing non-green decks love, it's artifacts. It's the main source of ramp for a large portion of EDH decks out there, so being able to shut it all down for just 2 mana is quite strong. Collector Oof is a newcomer for Modern Horizons that is very easily tutored for. However, it is also easy to remove, so you might have to protect it. Stony Silence, on the other hand, is slightly harder to find and slightly harder to destroy. Contamination and Blood Moon. Every deck plays lands, and most of them are non-basic. Blood Moon can completely shut players off of a good chunk of their mana and colors. Doesn't work as well as it does in Modern, but it's a strong piece of the puzzle in gaining control of the board with red Stax decks. Contamination is a much more annoying card as it impacts all lands, but requires creatures in play to keep it around. Just remember that your opponents can still get colored mana from their artifacts. City of Solitude. If your deck relies on a combo finish, this is a great way to protect yourself, stopping all spells and abilities from your opponents on your turn. It can also be a disruptive effect for blue players to deal with in general, pushing the game to sorcery speed. Just make sure you have enough Stax pieces in play to prevent an opponent from winning before you do. Finally, let's discuss some Stax play patterns. Playing Stax to success usually requires you mastering your play patterns and knowing what pieces interact with the entire table, as opposed to just one opponent. You usually need to keep 3 players off balance for your strategy to work, and many games will end with you gaining a stranglehold on the remaining players, leading to a group concession. Sometimes playing a Stax piece isn't right in the current board, and you'll need to think a few turns ahead before denying yourself resources or mana. A good way to come prepared for Stax decks is to pack extra artifact and enchantment removal and counterspells. Stax decks aren't impossible to beat, especially when you know what's coming. That concludes our guide to Stax decks. We defined Stax, looked at 3 efficient examples of the strategy, discussed powerful examples of cards in the 99, and went over useful play patterns. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe and catch the next Commander Quickie. Special shoutouts to our 11 patrons who make these videos possible. Peace out, Tribe Scout.